Okay, we are recording. Let's see. All right. Public. There we go. Let's go live here. Let's see what we got. All right. Okay. Streaming live. Can't really see it, but there's my just went surfing with Putin. And Jill Stein and Donna Brazil joined us. And then there's the Dark Knight light. So let me know who's out there. I've got my vegan smoothie. It's a little bit after 3 o'clock Pacific time. Sunday, November 5th, 2017. Anybody out there is watching, let me know. Tell me if you can hear and see me okay. If I need to make any adjustments, if it's streaming all right. Jake, the smoothie is fantastic. How is this audio and sound? Audio and sound. How is the video and audio? Karen Cheats is here. Jimmy Jokers. Donna Brazil is fucking nuts. Backtracking on the clear evidence the primaries were rigged. Oh boy. Dark as heck behind me. Yeah, it is pretty dark. I can make the behind me a little lighter. If that's what you enjoy. When I get up, it's going to get crazy. We could do this. Maybe that helps it. That helps it. How is that? You see a little light behind me now, over here. Yeah, I don't know. This is how we got it, I guess. I guess we can make this later. Boom, boom. Lights up the room a little more. I like it. I like it dark. I like it dark. Okay. All right. You can hear and see me all right, everybody says. AV is fine, just dark as hell. Yeah. Even a little helps. You block it all out. The memo saying this agreement is only towards the general election contradicts the rest of the document, like shitting on your face and telling you it's snowing. Thank you, Jimmy Jokers. Karen Sheets, lights at action Mars looks okay, but the sound is low. The sound is low. Well, that brings up crazy feedback. Let me try this. If the sound is low, let me see if I can alternate the sound. Can I up the sound? Let's see here. The sound. How do I change the sound? Okay, I don't want to mess with that. Media. Sources. The sound is low. Let's see. Well, tell me that maybe that. Oh wait, I think I got something I can fix the sound. Sometimes I do this and it doesn't make it that better. But tell me if this makes the sound better. Does that make the sound better? Everybody. Does that make how about that? Does that make the sound better? Some of you say the sound is good. Up the modulation, howl forever. I don't know what that means.
All right. There's an echo. Echo. It's too hot. There's an echo? Now there's an echo. All right. Hold on.
How about this? Is that better? Sorry, unplug that thing. See, that's every time I do this microphone, it makes it awful. Is that better? Right. Now too loud and echoey. All right, Jordan, anti-Bernie bro. No, at Bernie bro. No, the sound was fine before you did it. Good enough. All right, guys, we're going to have to stick with this. All right, it's a little low. Several of you are saying it's a little low. All right. I don't know what to do on that. Maybe there's a setting on my computer that I can do, the microphone setting. Let's do that. Let me check that real quick. Sound, internal speakers, output speakers, input, internal microphone. Ah, there we go. How about that? Does that make my microphone? I just upped the internal microphone level. Does that make it better? How about that? A little better now? That, I think, makes it better. All right, there. Okay, good. I just turned up the mic volume on my built-in computer, because if I plug in the lavalier for whatever reason with this Wirecast thing, it makes it crazy feedback. So that... Okay, good. Made it a little better. Who was the one who was having the... All right. All right, Jiminy Jokers. No, Bernie did not get the same deal as Hillary did. He never was offered control of staffing, donations, strategy, financing, and communications. Oh, good. Marcia Smith, it's good for you. Yeah, oh my God, the fallout from this Donna Brazil article has been insane. It's insane. People are saying it didn't happen. People they're denouncing her. Then NPR came back and fact checked everything she said. Now some of you are saying, is she Is she? Let me go check some news sites. Is she backtracking now? Unbelievable. Yeah, I can't see anything. If someone has a link to some Donna Brazil, if there's some Donna Brazil links for us to watch or look at it, that's good now. Joseph Sakata, you enjoy the live stream? You do. It's therapeutic. You know, Joseph, it's therapeutic for me because I think all of us progressives feel like we're kind of out here alone, you know, and you feel like you're crazy. And then because you're either in an area where you have a lot of Trumpers or neoliberals, and it's hard to like not feel insane. And so I feel it's therapeutic for me as well. So thank you for saying that. Jiminy Jokers, Hill bots are spreading fake news, calling progressives Russian bots, spreading fake news. It's unbelievable. And the other thing that was so crazy about Donna Brazil. So she comes out with this. She was the one who her Twitter feed 5 months ago, maybe 6, in the spring, somewhere when the Russia stuff was really heating up, she was posting that Russia tampering with our election, and she put in all caps, is an act of war. Like she wanted World War III with the Russians, and now she's saying, oh yeah, the Democratic Party was bought out by the Clintons in 2015. It's insane. Jiminy, there's an ABC News interview. Oh, wow. Yeah. It's in her book. How is she like? She must have gotten threats from the Clintons or something. It's unbelievable. Zach Davis, the new JFK docs. I'm not aware of any JFK docs. What are they saying? The Clintons killed him? Wouldn't doubt it. Jordan of Bernie, bro, they've been calling us Russia bots for over a year. None of us should be surprised by this. The truth is, Hill bots are now as irrelevant as Fox News viewers. Yeah, I know. I don't know how you can trust anybody over there on that side, the Hillary or the DNC. I don't know how you can trust any of them. They're all complete liars. Phil Britton, Donna is like watching the movie Brazil in reverse at 78 RPMs. Ah, nice. Jiminy Jokers, it's not just in her book. The document of the deal is real and shows the collusion despite the paragraph saying this deal isn't corrupt, while the deal is, of course, corrupt. It's insane. Yeah, these are crazy times. Like, it's nuts. She comes out and says this and then backtrack. Like, I don't even know how to respond to it. It's like she comes out, she drops this bombshell thing from her book and then backtracks. I don't even know how to respond to that. And then Hillary supporters saying she's crazy. Like, it's nuts. They're just as crazy as the Trumpers. Marcia Smith, no, the CIA did. Yeah, this reeks of deep state CIA crap. Joseph Sakata, is it wrong that I still don't want Donna Brazile in any position with the Democratic Party? I give her credit for admitting that it was rigged, but it doesn't change things she did in 2016. Yeah, I know. She's like a criminal, informant that turned state's evidence, and now we're supposed to just, oh, what an amazing person that they worked in this awful criminal enterprise, and now they're just trying to save their own ass, so we're supposed to call them heroes? No, they're not. And Paraka, CIA wanted to kill Cuban refugees via bombs and blame Cuba, then go to war Iraq style. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, are we really surprised at all this? Not really. I mean, I actually, you know what? Am I surprised I'm surprised Donna Brazile came forward. The reaction to it and the craziness surrounding it, no, I'm not surprised by that. But the fact that Donna Brazile, I was not anticipating her coming forward and calling out the corruption of the DNC and that the Clintons bought the party in 2015 because Obama left them in debt. Like, that was like, wow. That I was not anticipating at all. Jordan, hey, Bernie bro, Donna has been killed and her drone dispatched. Haha. Phil Britton, totalitarians and fascists create warring, blended politics. The chaos of confusion is control. Yeah, there's obviously that's part of it. Keep us all confused and fighting between these two parties and fighting within these parties. That's why I want nothing to do with the two parties at all. Jiminy Jokers, I'm surprised how brainwashed Americans are on both sides. Classic defining. It's unreal. When you listen to the Trump people and they say this crazy shit and you're just like, listen to what Trump said. He said it. No. And then the Hillary people act the same way. I have friends of mine, smart, intelligent people. This one woman was like, oh, I'm buying her book, and her book came out last month. Because I'm going to support her. The Clintons don't need your money. Like, I don't even understand it. JF Ranger, if Donna Brazile makes you feel sad, have a thought for Nancy Pelosi. You'll see things can be worse. I know I'm not helping. No, it's crazy. I know. What are the options? I mean, Pelosi's going to be better. I mean, Brazile was going after Debbie Wasserman Schultz. In some ways, it's kind of nice to watch the Democrats just eat each other, but then Americans just jump on board and I don't know what more that you need. And it's like, if you really thought, oh, the Bernie people are just crazy, they've overreacted, and Hillary won fair and square, and then you've heard all of this stuff from Bernie people saying how he got screwed over, and now you're hearing it from Donna Brazile. I don't know how you don't go, man, I was wrong. I screwed up. But then you're back at, but the Clintons aren't the I'm the screwed up types of folks. They're just like Trump. They're narcissists. They're crazy. They're egomaniacs. They can't ever admit they're wrong. We've seen interview after interview on her goddamn book tour where she's just like, well, yeah, but then this and Jill Stein and Putin and she just sounds like a 15-year-old. It's crazy. Independent outsider. I have 98% disavowed both major parties. Interviewed local Green Party chair recently. Check it out. New York State vote yes, Constitutional Convention, and change our state rules. Good for you, man. Good for you, independent outsider. Karen Sheet. And that to interview them, like, that's true. Like, don't just, these candidates, if they're running green or they're saying they're progressive, great. But, like, ask them. Ask them all the questions we didn't ask Obama. You know what I mean? Ask them all the real, like, who are you really? Where do you get your money? Where do you stand on this? Really find that out. That's good that you're doing that. Karen Sheets. Where will this lead us? A cleanup of the party or more fractured party? Karen Sheets, that is a fantastic question. I don't think this is going to lead us to clean up the party, the Democratic Party. Here's why. Look at how the Hillary people are reacting. It's not like this Hillary person after Hillary person is now coming forward. So I'll give you another example. It's sort of similar, but sort of isn't. But so like the Harvey Weinstein, right? All these allegations come out. Now all these allegations come out against Kevin Spacey and all these other people. And everyone's like, wow, this is wrong. We need to speak up. We need to speak up. People aren't running around denying. They're all like, it's a house of cards, and there's people are saying maybe Hollywood will have real change as a result of all this because the New York Police Department is putting together charges to arrest him. Kevin Spacey and Bryan Singer, they might get arrested, and that's for real. So that could really change the culture, at least in show business, of sexual predators. I don't see that with regard to the Democratic Party. I don't see within the party big Democratic leaders going, man, this is wrong. Tom Perez is not like, I'm sorry, we should have, this is a mistake. Obama isn't like, I shouldn't have. That's not happening. Everyone's doing what Weasley politicians do, which is covering their ass and blaming. And then the bots are out there doing their shit. And then the supporters are going, you know, there aren't Harvey Weinstein apologists en masse out there going, hey, man, those girls shouldn't have gone to his hotel room. Like, you're hearing a little bit of that, but it's not en masse. And there's so many people who still cannot believe that Hillary cheated. They refuse to believe it. So, Karen, I'm sad to say, I don't think this party's going to get cleaned up. I think it's going to get more fractured, but I honestly believe that in the long run, it will be a good thing. I think this is going to be the final nail or the catalyst or whatever you want to call it to like formulating a real third party. Either some heavy hitters are going to join the Green Party or the Green and the Libertarians are going to get together and they're going to bring some heavy, like Nina Turner and Tulsi are going to start their own. I don't know what it is, but I feel like this is going to be the catalyst to make this finally happen. Enough people are going to go, fuck this. The Democrats are going to keep fighting with amongst themselves and eat each other, and they're not going to change anything. You watch. Next year, the fallout from this, the 2018 is not going to be this sweeping, progressive blue mandate. The Democrats will put their money behind corporate Democrats, because that's what they do. They'll smear and shun progressives. A couple of progressives are going to win and sneak through, and it's going to be awesome and give us all hope. But the Democratic Party, forget it. I don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong. It'd be great because they have so much money and infrastructure, but I don't see it happening. And I also just think there's too many people in this country, like on the right, that would listen to a progressive message, would listen to a populist message if it didn't come from the Democratic Party. I think a third party is the key. And there's plenty of people on the left that won't listen to anything a Republican says. They just won't. And that's part of the problem. And that's why I think the long-term positive fallout from this is going to be a real third party. That's my hope. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic. Phil Britton, Pelosi and Feinstein are the Democratic Pied Pipers of fascism cloaked in financial fleecing. Yeah, I know. That's who's going to step up and save the party, or Kamala Harris, who is just, you know, a younger version of Dianne Feinstein. You know, like Kamala Harris is no savior. She's a corporate Democrat just like everyone else. They're not going to suddenly like, you know what, Nina Turner, you're going to take over the party. You're going to be in charge now, and we want to listen to your progressive points of view. That's not going to happen. These lunatics. What was this? Where are we at here? There's so many responses. Don't forget, guys, hit the super chat. I'll answer your question above everybody else's. In Paraka, Graham, did you hear about Justice Democrats challenging Dianne Feinstein? I live in San Francisco, and I'm glad to see her gone. Centrist conservative on every issue except gun control in liberal California. No, I did not hear that, but I love that. They got to primary these old corporate Democrats, and she's such a prime example. She's such a prime example of just like she talks this good progressive game, but the Democratic Party, they're just pro-choice gun control Republicans. That's all they are. That's all they are. And every time the left keeps moving to the center, the right keeps moving further right. Right? Will Anderson, a good friend of mine, who's a comic in Australia, very popular comic, said to me several years ago, he goes, Graham, the furthest right of the right-wing party in Australia is more left than the Democratic Party in America. That tells you something. That absolutely tells you something. Plantastic Life, thank you for supporting the show. Do you think that it would be better if all the various progressive groups consolidated into one third party? Yeah, absolutely. I think that needs to happen. If you got everybody, all the progressive groups together and formed a new third party, it would be huge. But you need everybody to get together and agree. That's the problem. It's not undoable. I do think it would be better if all the progressive groups got together and just said, look, and just agreed on a handful of like progressive things. $15 an hour minimum wage, universal health care, free college education, Green New Deal, less war, just those like 5 kind of standard things, on top of just, other things that most people on the left agree for, gun control, equality, right? You got everybody together on those issues and got all these parties and all these progressive groups together, you'd see some real change. You'd see some real change. So that's a great question, Plantastic Life, and thank you so much, man. You always support this show, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm assuming you eat raw food or a plant-based diet, or you run a vegan kitchen or something like that, and I applaud you, whomever you are. Marshall Villager, progressives need to see through Bernie. He is a moderate and insists on hanging on to corporate Dems. Yeah, I as much as I hate to say it, hearing that he sort of, we all saw it. We all saw it in real time when he acquiesced to the DNC just to stop Trump, which I kind of get him making that decision at the time. But like, when is he going to disavow himself from the Democratic Party and just go full on independent progressive? I don't know if we're going to see it. We need to look at Bernie for who he is. He galvanized a lot of us. He got a lot of us involved, a lot of us to wake up. And for that, I'm grateful. And if he wants to stay beholden to the corporate Democrats because he doesn't want to, get shunned by them, then that's his problem and we all need to move on. Thank him for what he did, bringing us all together, and then we need to move forward. That's my opinion on it. All right, let's get into some of your stuff you're saying here. Jiminy Jokers, has Bernie said anything on Brazil? He has stayed away from the subject on election rigging in the primary as much as Tom Perez has. Yeah, I haven't heard it, unless he's come out recently. Maybe he's been on TV yesterday or today. If he has, I'd like to see it. I haven't heard Bernie respond to this Brazil thing at all. Independent outsider, there has to be more to the Kevin Spacey story we do not know yet. Yeah, I think it sounds like it's more like, if it's not harassment, it's full-on sexual assault. That's what it sounds like. People I know in show business were like, oh yeah, Spacey's always been a creep, which I never knew. I've never worked with the guy, but... Phil Britton, the system of enslavement today is Citizens United. Abolish Citizens United, and we may begin to affect positive social change. Yeah, get the money out of politics is a great thing, but a way to, and I agree, but a way to just do that is to back politicians that say, I'm not taking any corporate money, Independent outsider. Yeah, House of Cards was good. I love Kevin Spacey as an actor. I'm bummed. I'm not going to watch any of his crap anymore. Fuck that guy. Marshall Villinger, I think progressives need to develop a mass movement before we can have major electoral victories. Grassroots movement has to be the basis. Maybe some tend to put the cart before the horse. Yeah, I think, again, but what you're saying, as I interpret it, or at least what I think, is we got to get progressives. I said this a lot on the smaller levels, like in the local governments, and start them working their way up to the national level. And we got to have a real third party candidate in 2020. We got to have a third party candidate that can get enough votes and can get on the national debate stage. It'll be tough because the Democrats and Republicans won't want them to, and the corporate networks will say that their poll numbers are below 13% because they need to be at 13% to qualify. And this is a rule that two parties cause, which is why the election system is bullshit. It's the two parties run it. But I'd love to see some third party person really disrupt in 2020. That'd be fantastic. Independent outsider, why is Tulsi keeping quiet lately? I don't know. Her Twitter feed is interesting. You know, if you look at her Twitter feed right now, let me look up Tulsi Gabbard's Twitter feed. So she, here's what she's been talking about. She's talking about 22 minutes ago. She's talked about the gun violence. There was a shooting, another shooting in a church. So she's like sending prayers and aloha to the people of Sutherland Springs. We got to work together to stop the gun violence. Okay. She talks about protecting the ecosystems of marine life. She's talking about 75 years ago, we sent 110,000 Japanese Americans to internment camps. And she puts these sort of generic posts. This is from 2 days ago. Special interests block the common sense bipartisan fixes to many of our most pressing issues. We must reform our campaign finance system. So she's been big on that. She talked about voting against the GOP. And then she talks about letting Bo Bergdahl walk free dishonors the sacrifice of soldiers. She's a vet. She talks about the science is clear. We got to get off of fossil fuels. So she's talking around all these progressive things. She's talking all around them. 2 days ago, she talked about we must act now to take back our party and even posted a video, a party that belongs to the people and fight for a new path forward. And there's like a 90-second video. She said the DNC needs real reform. So she's talking about how to reform it, but she won't really go into the specifics of Donna Brazile and our system is corrupt. Maybe she's just how can we go forward? Maybe she's just doing that. I don't know. She sort of talks around it, but she's not going straight forward saying Hillary cheated, Donna Brizile's awful that I've seen. But it's a fair question. All right, where are we at? Let's see. C. Rose, Justice Democrats, he, AFL-CIO's labor candidate, could really be awesome. Tulsi hasn't been quiet. She just put out a video on the refusing to change. Yeah, that's the video I just saw. She did that 2 days ago. Yeah, if you go to Tulsi Gabbard's Twitter feed, you'll see from two days ago the video she put out talking about reforming the DNC. And she got shit from corporate Democrats. I remember now that when that video came out, there were people like, Tulsi, why are you talking about this? Ugh. I back her and Nina Turner, man. Ian Peraka, I'm assuming you're talking about Tulsi, was a little too friendly with Tom Perez for me, but still pretty good. Yeah, I know. She's got some stuff that's a little questionable in her past, but it sounds like she's really trying to embrace the progressives and she's realizing that's the way to go. All right. Where are we at here? Jiminy Jokers, forget about labels. Just fight for policies you know well, believe in, and focus on best you know here. You know have popular appeal. Yeah, I think if you're referring to Tulsi Gabbard, I would agree about that. Phil Britton, ironically, the Dems are joining the Republican fascists to unite the financial forces to defeat any and all progressive candidates to perpetuate their status quo. That is so true. That's what they want to do, is just back the banking system because they benefited from it. They don't want campaign finance reform at all because they've all profited from it. They don't want any of that crap. Smoothie break. Where are we at? LOL on Justice Dems. They refused to back a progressive challenger to Feinstein for weeks because they were searching for a woman. Not okay. Major phone issues, LOA. I don't know. Okay. Marshall Villinger, progressives need militias for community defense and community service like the Black Panther Party. They were able to serve the poor and working classes with food, clothing, healthcare, housing, etc. Yeah, that was the thing about the Black Panthers. They were really helping in their community before they got sort of demonized. But they marched into the Capitol in California and with guns that they all legally had, and that's when Ronald Reagan was like, "Oh, we need gun control in California." I'm a little leery of militias only because there's a lot of militias in this country currently today that are heavily armed and very scary. But overall, I understand what you're saying. JF Ranger, general strike until a new election system is adopted, or we the people just means nothing and will be complaining for decades over bought and sold politicians. Yeah, we don't really have much of a representative democracy. It's gone. So we need to somehow get it back. And maybe a strike is one way to do it. Jiminy Jilkers, can't we serve our communities without the use of force, though? Or the need to carry guns? Yeah, I agree with that. I think we need more. I've read a lot and have talked to some police officers about community policing. I like that. Militias, just, again, not that the cops are great. I've been very critical of police departments, but just the militia, everyone's got to have guns. That's just the escalation of force just really makes me uneasy. I think we need more community stuff. People need to get together and talk, not just bring in armed militias. I don't know that works. Celeste Holmes, Panthers were socialists who believe in community policing, hence weaponry. Yeah, and also the Black Panthers were talking specifically about the black community was being brutalized, and still is, obviously, by the police and the military, so they were like, well, we need to be able to defend ourselves. And that I understand where they were coming from and still do. But I think if we were to implement real progressive policies, real, many of them being socialist and not being afraid of that word socialism, I think we could cure a lot of these problems and wouldn't need all of these guns. Part of the guns in this country is to keep this country scared and divided. The gun industry preys upon people's fears, mainly white people's fears, that they need a gun because there's going to be some awful, race war or something, or apocalypse, and society's going to collapse. And instead of trying to just fix society to make it more inclusive and help everybody, just buy a gun for when it collapses. It's a pretty terrifying thought. C-Rose, violence makes you morally bankrupt. Yeah, there's a saying too, in violence we lose ourselves. So if we're going to try to treat issues with violence or the preparation and escalation of violence, that's, in my opinion, a bad thing. Marshall Villager, have you guys seen the queer militias? We can't rely on the KKK cops. Yeah, I know. Look, I'm not. There's a lot of concern with the police department, but what is the solution here? I don't know if there's one simple solution. I just don't know if armed militias is the solution, because that's like, if you read Hedges' book, he talks about when civil wars happen, the brutality of civil wars. There's always people who are revolutionaries, and then the revolutionaries get control, and then they abuse their power, and they use it with brutal force, and sensitive, soft, concerned, artistic people get crushed. That's what scares me. This need or want or desire to have some sort of armed revolution or armed militias or militias that could then lead us to an armed revolution scares me. And so does a heavily armed militarized police force. That scares me too. But that's why I think the solutions need to come from another angle. They need to come from getting real progressives in there and getting to true political and social reform versus amp up the military, amp up the militias, amp up the guns. That I think scares me. Jiminy Jilkers, when half of the population or more is dependent on each paycheck to survive, really hard to get a general strike going that would actually be effective. Yeah, that's a good point. I think we need, as Hedges talks about, we need coordinated nonviolent resistance, and that can look in several forms, which is, as I talk about on this show, vote with your dollars. That's one way to sort of strike. Not everybody not go to work, but like, do not financially support anything that doesn't believe in you. That changes the system. Believe me, when big corporations see their bottom line get hit, they what? They change, man. Things change. That's one way to do it. So I agree with that. Independent outsider, military can be utilized for more disaster relief. That's absolutely true. Wouldn't it be great if our military, instead of being in 8 wars around the world, was just helping rebuild societies and like, oh, we're going to build, soccer stadiums in Afghanistan, like to get the country together to watch soccer, and we're going to provide security for that or whatever, or when there's a natural disaster. That's a great question. Graham, status of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. My understanding of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico is still in very deep, really hard. It's a lot, still people that don't have water, still people that don't have electricity. Some areas have gotten relief. Same thing with Virgin Islands. I was at the Red Cross yesterday for a training session, and it looks like I'm still going to go there over the holidays. So that's the best status I have right now, Independent Outsider, and thank you for asking. Phil Britton, the Panthers brandish guns to shove the whites' law of guns for all. Yeah, I know, that was great. And we still see that today. The NRA won't back, when a black man is a legal gun owner, the NRA won't have his back. That's a great point. They were showing, okay, these are your laws. They were sticking the white man's laws in his face. You said we could own these guns legally. Here we are. We're legal gun owners. Uh-oh, we can't see black men having guns legally on TV, like getting together and forming a group. That's a great point. Where are we at here? Celeste Holmes, the U.S. military will, and by law now can, drone the fuck out of us. That is true. That's why I worry about any sort of armed militia or armed resistance, is that then the military you'll see the brutality of this government will be turned upon its citizens in a brutal, brutal way. The militarized police, the drone strikes, you start having big riots and shit like that, it's gonna get ugly, man. They'll start drone striking civilians, and we'll legally, they'll just say terrorism, and boom. That's why it's nonviolent resistance is the way to go. Because violence begets more violence. God's favorite atheist going to watch V for Vendetta to celebrate November 5th. Haha. See you guys next time. Right on. Read the V for Vendetta graphic novels that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. Those are amazing. The movie's good, but the graphic novels are fantastic. So take care, Bella. Phil Britton, our militarized police force is the Pentagon's welfare program for vets. Killers trained to shoot, to kill, guard your neighborhood is sick. Oh yeah, I mean the militarized cops. It's a brutal thing. The whole system is brutal. But that's my fear though, is just escalating more force. That's the police department. Then if they see more armed militias ruling the streets, then the cops are going to show up with tanks. You see what I'm saying? It's not an easy situation, and there's no quick fix. But that's my point. Marcia Smith. Sending a little love. Sorry you can't be at Jimmy's show tomorrow night. Well, yeah, I'm going to be doing the Jimmy Dore show tomorrow night in Burbank. Marcia, I hope you feel better. I'm sorry you can't make the show. It's always great to have you there and great to have you support this show. Big shout out to Marcia Smith. Thank you for sending the love. You guys are great. You guys are great. Let's see. Where are we at? So far, Marcia Smith and Plantastic Life has supported the show. You guys are fantastic. I'm always impressed, and it warms my heart when you do that. Independent Outsider, Graham, you feel entertainment industry has fed the hunger for guns? Always think about A-Team, 1,000 bullets, no one killed. Oh, for sure. That's definitely part of it. And if you think, the gun lobby hasn't spent money to get that into movies, you're crazy. Of course they have. Gun, gun, gun. And it's always the guy with the gun, and then he kills the bad guy, and everyone in the theater cheers. That's not random. That is by design to keep us heavily armed and scared and support the gun industry and support war. We're bred to believe that war is good and America is just and noble, and our wars are always noble. And when we bomb, we had no other choice. And that's entertainment industry is a big part of that. Again, going back to Death of the Liberal Class, that started the corporate states, the militarized corporate states started hijacking the entertainment industry in World War I. So George Creel was hired to basically put out propaganda because no one in America wanted to go to World War I. It was called Wall Street's War. Why are we going to Europe? Why are we sending our young men over to Europe? Because the war had already started in Europe. And it was Wall Street's War, and that's what it was called. So then Wall Street spent a bunch of money. George Creel then worked for Woodrow Wilson, and his job was to use radio, I believe at the time, and magazines and newspapers in this new industry, the film industry, to get Americans to be in favor of World War I. So they made movies like about the evil Kaiser, and they changed the name of Frankfurter to Hot Dog, and that was all part of a propaganda machine that Hollywood was a part of. So Hollywood's been a part of the war machine for a long time. I mean, you watch Wonder Woman, which was really cool. It's a fantastic movie. There's a lot of good stuff about it, showing a female superhero doing amazing stuff. But she's fighting in a war. And the ad that played before it was an ad for the Marine Corps that showed a young woman. Maybe you've seen this ad. She's a little girl. She stops bullying, And then you see her playing, rugby in college. And then you see her in boot camp. And then you see her in an urban warfare setting as a Marine going to war. And it's like The Few, the Proud. And they play that before Wonder Woman. So now they're telling young women, we want you to get fired up to go to war now. That's equality in the corporate state. Women, you get to go to war. You get to come home with PTSD. You get to lose limbs. You get to have 22 suicides a day. So, yes, Independent Outsider. The entertainment industry has fed this because the corporate state, so all the major studios are owned by massive corporations. So the big budget, the war movie, those things get passed and passed and passed. So in the 70s, you had movies like Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now, which were very much anti-war movies. That was before corporations took over the studios. So now corporations take over the studios, and they're very pro-war. The Planet of the Apes movie, this last one was War for the Planet of the Apes. It's a good movie. I like that trilogy. That's just my opinion as a film guy. But war, all the posters said war, war. Everywhere you looked, war, war, war. It's training us always to be in a constant state of war because we are in a constant state of war. So the entertainment industry is yet another propaganda arm of the corporate machine. Hope that answers your question. C. Rose, we should be purely defensive and humanitarian in our foreign policy. Man, wouldn't that be great? Instead of our $700 billion military budget, what if we cut that in half to $350 billion a year and took that other $350 billion and did humanitarian, stopped creating drone strikes and rebuilt the infrastructure of this country, and then went into third world countries and gave them infrastructure, gave them solar panels and wind turbines that were manufactured here in America, and said, like, we could make a profit from the Green New Deal all around the world and make the world a better place. We could all be doing that. We could all be doing that. It's right there. It's not some crazy pie in the sky concept. I would love to see that, C. Rose. That's a fantastic thing. Yeah, you guys change your clocks. Celeste Holmes, so much consolidation within all industries makes product boycotts, brand boycotts nearly impossible to be as effective as they were even 20 years ago. You know, Celeste, that's a good point. I know, because they own everything. It's why I try, and it's not easy. I try to support locally owned things, local businesses. I try to do that as best I can. And I talked about this once on the Jimmy Dore show. So I understand too, money's tight. I definitely know what money's tight. My money has been tight the last year and a half. It's finally improving, but so one thing, a friend talked to me, like, obviously, like, let's say you want to buy some electronics. You're going to go to like a big store, like you either buy it online at Amazon or go to Best Buy or something like that. But I've gone to sometimes to some smaller mom and pop shops, or even a Best Buy in my town so that my town gets some of the sales tax revenue. But you can go to the independent store. Like, I'm going to do this. There's some bike gear I need to get for my bicycle. And I'm going to go to this little independent bike shop. And I'm going to find the products online and say, hey, online they're cheaper. Can you come close to matching this price? I want to give you the money. And sometimes they'll do that. Or I've gone to stores and said, is there a cash discount? And they'll usually knock 10% off or whatever, because then they don't have to pay the sales tax, and neither do you. So that's how I try to support small businesses. Now, sometimes it's too expensive, and, you know, I don't like necessarily buying on Amazon, but I have a really good friend that works for Amazon. It's hard to, like, I don't want to just condemn the whole thing, but we know what Jeff Bezos is about. He gets $600 million from the CIA. So I'm just saying, yes, it's hard. You're right, Celeste, for that. But there are little ways that you can spend, and even just the difference of a $30 product that you spend instead of with the big corporate, with the smaller thing, little things like that help. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive and delusional, but there are little ways I think you can help. But overall, we need massive resistance in a positive way. And sometimes that might mean, like, just, well, look at this. Look at the NFL. They're hemorrhaging money because people don't want to watch them anymore. Both sides. They shouldn't kneel. It's against the flag side. And I'm sick of the NFL because they won't back Kaepernick side. Anyway. About another 10, 15 minutes. M&N, buy local weed. Ha. Independent Outsider, thanks for all you do, Graham. Going to power down and take a nap. See you all next week. Have a good nap, Independent Outsider. All right. Ron Taxer, do you think Bernie will run in 2020? That is a fine question. We keep kind of debating this every week. But it's a valid thing to bring up, especially in light of this Donna Brazil stuff. And we talked earlier on the show today about, you know, it's time to just see through Bernie. He's just kowtowing to the corporate Democrats, and maybe he is. Or maybe this Donna Brazil coming clean is finally Bernie's going to say, if he would be justified if he said, enough, I'm out. I keep thinking, and this is maybe, I might be the only one who thinks this. My thoughts are, after 2018, he's waiting for 2018. And when, if the Democratic Party does keep being corporate, as we assume they will be, and they lose even more seats to the Republicans in 2018, and only a handful of progressives that sneak through win, my feeling is Bernie then is going to go, I'm out, and I'm running myself. And if they start pushing forward, he's watching who they're going to push forward. If they start pushing forward Kamala Harris or Chelsea Clinton, then he's going to say, I'm out. And he's going to run third party. That's my guess, or maybe that's just my hope or my fantasy. I don't know. Sonic fans 81, hey Graham, hope you're having a great day. You too, my friend. The Sonics, those were fun teams. Celeste Holmes, The Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now were two of the earliest films to deal with the Vietnam War. Billy Jack was one of the first. Yeah, Billy Jack deals with the Vietnam War and racism against Native Americans and everything. Ian Peroka, we have soldiers in like 170 countries. Yeah, it's insane. All right, where are we at here? Amen. But Bernie already saw DNC kick out all his people from positions of power. I know they just purged progressives. I don't know what he's waiting for. I'm beginning to think he maybe, I don't know. I keep thinking he's waiting for 2018 to say I'm back, but I don't know. Or he's waiting for somebody else to, like, he's going to just get behind Nina Turner or something. I don't know what it is. Celeste Holmes, Larry Cohen, with Our Revolution, former head of CWA, I believe, was on Bill Press the other day. He said Bernie will decide early next year if he's going to run for POTUS again. Oh, see? That's what I'm saying. He's waiting for 2018. That's a good point, Celeste Holmes. He's waiting for 2018. James 98. Hey Graham, did you hear about some of the MPFs in Parliament having to resign because of sexual conduct? Oh, all creeps. No, I did not. English Parliament. Oh God. It so bothers me. I mean, on the one hand, I'm glad like all this stuff is starting to come forward. Hopefully this stuff will change. But I don't know, man. I mean, I've seen, when I was a kid in the 80s, there was a sweeping thing of all these Catholic cardinals and priests in Chicago that were molesting kids and, change. I've seen, we talked about the Catholic Church repeatedly. Spotlight, if you watch that show, The Keepers, and the Catholic Church has lawyers to, debunk people who come forward with repressed memories and all this stuff. So I don't know, man. I hope to see major change. I did not hear that about Parliament. I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like the human race is just done, or maybe it's always been awful, and now we just hear it more because the internet is everywhere. But I hope those assholes in Parliament go to jail for a long goddamn time. Phil Britton, Bless the Beasts and Children, 70s movie, obscure, dealing with our genetic drive to kill life. God, I have not heard that. Yeah, C-Rose, they just busted a huge pedophile ring in the U.S., saved 80 children. Yeah, I did hear about that, which is good. I have a friend who's a cop, and he deals with some internet crime stuff, and he just says it's brutal. He just says, like, the stuff that he's seen, and it's unbelievable. It's brutal. James 98. Atori was quoted as saying, "You can't get away with the same thing as 2007," as if that was any different. Ugh, boy. MN. C. Rose. Tulsi does not have the broad appeal Bernie has gained. He must strike while iron's hot. Yeah, I think Bernie's window is closing. If he's going to make a decision in the beginning of next year to do it, that's when he needs to do it. If he can't wait too long. So, Marshall Villager, down with Israel. Free Palestine. Yes, sir. I agree with that. There's 41 of you watching. I got about another 5-10 minutes. Of course, don't forget to support the show. And if you don't want to use YouTube, you can go to patreon.com, or you could also just go to PayPal. There's a PayPal button on GrahamElwood.com if you just want to do that way. And there's also my P.O. box. Some people are just like, Graham, I'd rather mail you a check because I don't want to deal with the internet and the deep state. I don't blame you. Rosenfeld 10. Graham, did you see the TYT investigative story about UPS and FedEx tax subsidies and job creation or lack thereof? No, I did not see that TYT story. That sounds good. I know UPS is more union, and I know UPS does more for their drivers, from what I understand. They take care of their drivers better than FedEx. But I'll watch that video. Thanks for suggesting that. MN. Does Political Vigilante sell merch, MN? Not yet, but I will. God's Favorite Atheist made me a logo. I need to get it sort of digitized and see how it looks on a shirt. I'm going to start making some Make Gotham Great Again shirts. But I'll make merch. It's just got to lay out some. I gotta do the T-shirt thing that Jimmy Dore has. That way I don't have to lay out money to buy, because traditionally you buy a bunch of shirts and then hope that they sell, so you have to lay out cash. But there's a website that he uses called Shirt Station or Ship State or something like that. You just upload a logo, and then every time somebody buys a shirt, they make it and ship it and do everything for you. So I'm going to get on that, MN, but thank you for supporting the show. And yes, I'll get some merch made. Let's see. Snork Y2K. I can make molds for candles. Oh, all right. Like a Political Vigilante candle? Sure. Snork Y2K. You got the time wrong. Yeah, buddy. Spring forward, fall back an hour. Phil Britton. Bernie inspired others to be Bernie. His role is done now. Pick up his baton and run like you have a purpose. Yeah, I don't know. Carrie Gale. What do the cops think about being hated so much? Do you understand why? Well, some of the cops, again, I have a good friend of mine as a cop, and we were actually talking about this last weekend. And he understands the frustration. He was like, he goes, yeah, there's some cops doing some awful stuff and shooting unarmed people. And I told him a story about I was hassled by a cop for jaywalking, and the guy came at me with a gun like I ran out of a bank. And he goes, yeah, Graham, that's awful, and you should file a complaint and all this other stuff. And I said, okay, too. But his one point is, at first he was just sort of like, yeah, whatever. Everyone's always hates the cops. Like, they all just sort of have to take the shit. They just realize that's part of the job. But he's also like, and this is a fair point. He goes, the news never talks about the cop that rescues the 8-year-old kid out of the abusive home, or saves somebody, or, does good stuff. Those stories are rarely reported. When a cop shoots an unarmed person, then you hear that story. And I said, yeah, that's fair. But the police department has a lot of power. And he really listened and heard my point, but I think he understands. He understands, because I explained to him, I said, you're a cop. So if a cop comes and says, get the hell down, you can just say, I'm a cop, and he can look it up and you're fine. I can't do that. I'm going to get roughed around, and it's a scary thing to have a guy put a gun in your face. And he said, yeah, and he kind of understood that, because I'm a civilian friend of his, and a lot of his friends are cops. But I think some cops get it. And again, there's probably a lot of decent cops out there doing good jobs, and then the assholes get all the press. And the problem is, though, when they screw up, somebody dies. It's not like they're a pro athlete and, oh, they lost the game. It's so they need to be held
more accountable. I think a lot of cops are realizing that something needs to change. That's my gist of it, Carrie, but that's a great question. MN, I'm going to get some merch. Marshall Villinger, dude, fuck the police. They're corporate thugs for social control and oppression of black and brown communities. There's a lot of that is true. I'm not gonna argue that. A lot of that is true. But within the police department, there are some people doing some good things. I don't like the current police system. We need to have community policing. We need to change a lot of stuff. One of the things we need to change is dealing with mental illness and as a country, but also the police department. And I'm not discounting any of the oppressive shit police departments have done. And yeah, Marshall Village, you're right. There's a lot of cops out there that are not self-critical. They're Blue Lives Matter, and they're just like, fuck Black Lives Matter. Yeah, there's a lot of asshole cops, and there's a lot of people in the community that support violent, abusive asshole cops. Absolutely. But you have to look at, there are some cops doing some good things. To just blanket and say they're all shitty and they're all assholes. And I've had some awful interactions with cops. Awful ones. I've had some nice ones too. So, the chief of police in Santa Monica, where I live, is a black woman, and she's done a lot of good reform in this town. She came over from Inglewood. And you're right, Marshall Villager, the worship of police is like a cult. Right. But we got to analyze everything. And if there are some things that are being doing well, we have to acknowledge them and change the bad. Of course, first and foremost, change the bad. But part of it is the cops are thrown into this. And I'm not excusing when they do awful, violent shit and the racist cops, and there's plenty of them. But look at this. We have a society that is designed to benefit the rich and screw over the poor. We don't have good healthcare. We don't have good jobs. 60% of the population can't afford a $500 to $1,000 emergency. You've got drugs being funneled in here by the CIA. The police force, and many of them are part of the CIA. Absolutely, absolutely. But we need to address all of those things in addition to what's going on with the police, for sure. Snork Y2K, just a little surfboard wax change. Thanks, Snork. That's right about what a bar of surf wax costs. So thank you so much, Snork Y2K. You support the show very often, and I appreciate it. Independent Outsider, my NYC cop nephew just got a commendation cop of the month due to his diligence apprehending an active shooter, no press. Right, didn't take the guy down. That's true, I know. When that happens, when a cop diffuses a situation, that doesn't get press. That doesn't get press. That's a good point. I'm just saying, we need to be absolutely critical of cops. We should not let them off the hook. We should not. And the fact that all these guys have gotten acquitted that have shot unarmed black men, that's fucked up. But we got to look at the whole thing too. Then we have to acknowledge the good that's happening. You have to. The cops will always be a reflection of the government that hired them. Absolutely, man. We live in a brutal corporate state. We're a country that is constantly at war. We need to address that too. There's a lot of huge issues here. And if we just reform the cops, how do we deal with the drug issue? We need to reform the drug issue. We need to make it a health issue rather than a criminal issue. That's the other thing. They're busting all this stuff. We need better psych exams. We need to address mental illness. Also, the cops have my friend was telling me this. He's had to deal and see awful stuff. He deals with internet, with child crime, child pedophiles and child pornography. He's had to look at these images. He goes, Graham, how do I diffuse this? So we need to give the cops better mental health because they're freaked out and stressed out. And then they go and they got a gun and they're overly violent and boom, boom, boom. And then the system is designed to let them off the hook, which is bullshit. There's so many things. I'm not defending them at all. The cops that do awful things, but the whole system is screwed over. Everything's bad. We don't want to address anything in this country. Marijuana and heroin are not grown in this, or excuse me, cocaine and heroin are not grown in this country. And yet we have a huge cocaine and opioid problem in this country. Someone's benefiting from that. The deep state. And the cops are a part of that, for sure. Carrie Gale, cops used to fight crime. Now they pick fights. Yeah, a lot of times they do. Snork White 2K, I object to CIA raising money by hiring Indians to call old people and scam them out of cash. Yeah, that's a good point. Independent outsider, stop militarization of local police force, and yeah, better mental health. Absolutely. Also, yeah, Carrie Gale, stop private prisons. That'd be a good start. There's another thing. Like, it's so awful. It's so awful. Independent outsider, is Nina running for governor of Ohio? I don't know what Nina's doing. Fantastic Life. I think Nina Turner's husband and son are cops. This will help her as a candidate. Yeah, she'll talk about police reform. James 98. Did I see Russell Brand and Bill Maher the other week? No, it's hard for me to watch Bill Maher. I'm sure Russell Brand was good. I mean, he's pretty outspoken about drug addiction and how to deal with it. I don't know if his interview, what it was like. It's just so hard for me to watch Bill Maher, man. It's so hard for me to watch Bill Maher. Well, 44 of you, we got up to 44 watching today. That was pretty good, you guys. I really appreciate the conversation today. I'm going to be wrapping it up here soon. Thank you, guys. All of you. Marshall Villinger, Independent Outsider, James 98, Carrie Gale, Phil Britton, Celeste Holmes, Snork Y2K. You guys are fantastic. MN, C Rose, God's Favorite Atheist. You guys are all really cool. And of course, Marcia Smith, MN, and Snork Y2K for kicking in money, which is fantastic. Independent Outsider, Russell Brand crushed Meyer. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did. But, Russell Brand is, he's a recovered addict, so he knows that world for sure. Some of you have asked, Plantastic Life, thanks again. Some of you are like, I'd rather just send money. So there's my P.O. box. Some of you are just like, I'd rather send a check because whatever. That's cool. I appreciate it. Rosenfeld 10. You guys are fantastic. Plantastic Life, Snork Y2K, MN, Marcia Smith, and Plantastic Life again. Thank you so much for supporting the show. You guys are great. I'm going to be putting out the new credits because those of you that are Patreon supporters, that just went out. So I'm going to put the new credits in this week, and those of you who are sending me articles, I'm going to do that if you're at the 20. So check your email because I got to email you through Patreon. It's an easier way for me to communicate with you. Celeste Holmes, are those of you able to support, financially support Graham? Thank you from someone able to do so at this time. Celeste, don't worry about it, man. Like, I understand some of you, if money's tight, I get it. Don't worry about it. Those of you that can support, you're awesome, and every dollar helps. You're fantastic. Don't feel bad if you can't. Dana Pruitt, Nina is not running. Jerry Springer running for governor of Ohio. Oh, boy, that's I don't know. Is he a progressive? Is Jerry Springer a progressive? You guys are great. I appreciate the discussions and the debates we have on this show, and some of the solutions you guys offer. You bring up points of view that I don't understand. Phil Britton. Share Graham's link with 5 friends this week. Yeah, that's a cool way. If you don't have money, there's free ways to support the show. Is post my Patreon link on your social media, post my videos on your social media, get your friends to like and subscribe. Let the ads play all the way. If you skip ads, I don't get paid on YouTube. Positive reviews in iTunes, I take the audio from the video and I make that the podcast. So even if you watch the videos, just positive reviews. There's a lot of great free ways to support the show. Please, Graham, please do more pieces on toxic masculinity. I will. It's a very valid discussion, and with all of this, Harvey Weinstein and hashtag Me Too, it deserves to be talked about because men need to really change their behavior, and our culture and how we address men needs to be changed. It's not just. It's a lot. Men have the bulk of the responsibility, but women do too. Because I've been told by women, man up or stop being so, for expressing my feelings or being vulnerable. I've had women tell me that too. When I see a man cry, I think he's weak. I've heard women say that. We need years of self-reflection and recertification to destroy the culture of toxic masculinity. Yeah, for sure. Jerry Springer helped Nina Turner and her government. Wow. Jerry Springer's a progressive. All right. That's fantastic. All right. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate the suggestions on upcoming topics. James, I'm glad you liked the toxic masculinity video. I'll do more of those. Of course, there was some guy, you pussy. It's so funny. Of course. Progressive-ish. Yeah, Jerry Springer's progressive-ish. In a creepy reality TV way, progressive. Celeste Holmes, men need to accept that sexual harassment, abusive behavior is much more prevalent and there are more victims out there than you ever know. That is absolutely true. And I think men don't know that it's happening or kind of turn a blind eye and that's bullshit. Men need to speak up and go, dude, that's fucked up. Don't treat her that way. Men need to be doing that for sure. For sure. You're absolutely correct. But also victims of sexual abuse are men and women, and the perpetrators are male and female and everything else. I encourage you to go to onein6.org. It's a good website to get some information. Phil Britton, tears are just emotions wet when laughter takes a holiday. Yeah, man, let the tears out. Holding in the tears is the worst. It's physiologically bad for you. And it makes you more prone to stress and anger. Let the tears out, man. I've been crying a lot the last couple months going through this breakup and some other stuff. That's what you guys are doing. So I got to run. Thank you guys so much for coming here every Sunday. I love being here. I love having these discussions, and you guys bring up so many different points of view. Even if there's ones I not necessarily agree with, I just dig it because it's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a positive thing, and I encourage you to be that way out in your life and when you're talking to other people, be it online or in person. Hear the other point of view, and it's okay to hear a different point of view, even if you're like, you know what, I don't agree with that. It's okay. So you guys are awesome. You inspire me as much as I inspire you. So thanks for doing that. Don't put the keyboard so close to the mic. There's no way around that. It's a laptop. I'm using the built-in microphone and the keyboard. I'm sorry. There's no way around that. Sorry, dude. Thank you guys so much. You're awesome. Once again, Plantastic Life, Marsha Smith, MN, SnorkY2K, and Plantastic Life again. Plantastic Wife, you're my Plantastic Wife. Let's talk illegal immigration next time. You got it. Have a great night. Have a great week, you guys. Stay progressive and continue, as always, to make Gotham great again. There it is, right